Archangel Michael issues a final warning for you. Watch in the next 60 seconds or the $100 million transfer bypasses you forever. This is not a casual message. This is not entertainment. This is not coincidence. If these words have appeared before your eyes, it is because something has shifted in the spirit realm, and your name has been called in a moment that cannot be repeated. Archangel Michael does not move without purpose. When he speaks, it is because a battle has reached its climax. When he warns, it is because a door is about to close. And when he says final, it means heaven has already extended patience, mercy, and opportunity, and now the clock is ticking. There are moments in life that feel ordinary on the surface but are eternal in consequence. This is one of them. The next 60 seconds are not about time measured by a clock. They represent a divine window, an appointed opportunity. In Scripture, there were moments when obedience had to be immediate. When the call came, delay meant loss. When the instruction was given, hesitation meant bypass. This message carries that same urgency. The phrase "watch in the next 60 seconds" is not pressure, it is protection. It is heaven saying, pay attention now, because what is about to unfold concerns your destiny. You may be wondering why the warning feels so intense. Why such strong language? Why such immediacy? Because what is at stake is not small. The $100 million transfer is not just about money. It represents divine restoration, recompense, acceleration, and kingdom alignment. It represents years that were stolen being restored. It represents opportunities that were delayed being reactivated. It represents favor that has your name written on it. And here is the truth that shakes the comfortable. Transfers only move to those who are positioned to receive them. If someone is asleep when their name is called, the blessing does not wait indefinitely. This is why it is described as a bypass. In the spiritual realm, there are moments of allocation. There are seasons that heaven releases that have been held in reserve. But allocation requires readiness. Archangel Michael's warning is not about fear, it is about awareness. He stands as a defender, a warrior, a protector of divine order. And when he steps forward with a final warning, it is because there has been resistance around you. There hath been opposition trying to delay you. There have been forces attempting to distract you. But heaven is countering that resistance with clarity. Listen closely. The fact that you are hearing this means you have not been forgotten. You are not random. You are not overlooked. You are being addressed. The word final does not mean doom. It means culmination. It means a cycle has reached its decisive point. It means excuses no longer apply. It means distraction is dangerous. It means the margin for delay has closed. There are people who had similar moments and ignored them, assuming another opportunity would come. Some did not realize until much later that the window had already sealed shut. The urgency is not to create panic. It is to awaken you. Something has been set in motion. Paperwork in the spiritual realm has already been signed. The transfer is prepared. The only question is alignment. Will you be present? Will you be attentive? Will you respond when your spirit is stirred? Because divine movement requires human agreement. Heaven initiates, but you must receive. Archangel Michael's warning is the sound of a trumpet before a shift. Why you? That question may echo in your mind. Why would a message this significant be directed at you? Because you have endured battles others did not see. You have faced delays that did not make sense. You have felt seasons of pressure that almost broke you. And yet you remained. That endurance positioned you. That faith under fire qualified you. This is not random wealth. being scattered into the air. This is a measured, strategic release connected to purpose. But here is the sobering truth. Divine moments are perishable. They are powerful, but they are time-sensitive. When heaven says watch in the next 60 seconds, it means this is not the hour to scroll past your calling. This is not the time to doubt the stirring in your chest. This is not the season to say, maybe later. Later can become never, and never can become forever bypass. Archangel Michael's presence in this warning signals protection and confrontation at the same time. Protection for those who respond. Confrontation for every force trying to intercept what belongs to you. The atmosphere around your life is shifting. Something that was pending is about to move. But final warnings exist for a reason. They draw a line. On one side is awareness, obedience, and reception. On the other side is delay, distraction, and loss. This is the line being drawn right now. You did not arrive here by accident. You were guided here because heaven refuses to let you miss what has been prepared. The next moments matter more than you realize. The decision to lean in, to listen, to align, these are not small acts. They are destiny responses. The final warning has been released. The question is not whether the transfer is real. The question is whether you will recognize the moment before it passes. Something is accelerating. You can feel it even if you cannot explain it. Events that once took years are happening in months. Doors that were closed for a decade are suddenly cracking open. Conversations are shifting. Opportunities are surfacing. Resistance is intensifying. This is not random. Heaven is moving fast right now because we are in a season of divine recalibration. Cycles are closing. Accounts are being settled. Transfers that were delayed are being released. And when heaven moves quickly, it is because alignment windows are narrow and strategic. There are moments in history when the spiritual realm speeds up its activity. These are moments when promises mature all at once. Think of it like harvest season. For a long time, nothing seems visible on the surface. Seeds are buried. Progress is hidden. Growth is silent. But when harvest arrives, everything ripens together. What looked still suddenly becomes urgent. That is what is happening around you. The $100 million transfer represents a harvest moment. And harvest does not wait forever. It must be gathered when it is ready. Why is heaven accelerating now? Because delay has served its purpose. Destiny has accomplished its assignment. Pressure has refined you. There was a reason for the waiting season. There was a reason doors did not open when you begged for them to. There was a reason certain relationships ended. There was a reason some opportunities collapsed. You were being positioned. You were being strengthened. You were being prepared to carry something heavier without breaking under it. And now, preparation has met timing. But understand this clearly. Acceleration does not only attract blessing. It also attracts opposition. When something valuable is about to be released, resistance increases. You may have noticed strange distractions lately. And you will fatigue. Unexpected arguments. Doubts rising without clear cause. These are not accidents. When a transfer is pending, the battle intensifies. The enemy of your destiny knows that once this shift happens, you will not be easily shaken again. So the strategy becomes distraction. That is why Archangel Michael's warning carries urgency. Heaven is moving fast, and distraction is expensive. Hesitation in a slow season might not cost much. Hesitation in an accelerated season can cost everything. When momentum builds, you must move with it. When heaven speeds up, You cannot afford to stay spiritually idle. Alignment must match acceleration. There is also something else happening behind the scenes. Divine wealth, whether financial, spiritual, relational, or generational, is being redistributed. What was held back is being reassigned. What was misused is being reclaimed. What was delayed is being redirected. Transfers happen when stewardship meets readiness. And readiness is not perfection. It is willingness. It is attention. It is obedience. Some people will miss this simply because they assume there is more time. They assume another warning will come. They assume another chance will be given. But acceleration compresses timelines. What used to unfold over years can now unfold in moments. That is why you must treat this message as personal, because it is not being broadcast randomly into the air. It has intersected with your life for a reason. If this message is stirring something inside you right now, that stirring is not emotional hype. It is recognition, and recognition requires response. This is the moment where passive listening turns into active agreement. If you feel that this word is connected to your life, take a second right now and like this video as a sign of alignment. That simple action is not about an algorithm. It is about agreement. It is about saying, I am present. I am attentive. I receive what heaven is releasing. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now as a prophetic act of staying connected to the warnings and revelations that guard your destiny. These messages are not accidents. They are lifelines in accelerated seasons. Also, write to the comments a short declaration of faith, something simple like, I am ready. Your written agreement seals your awareness. When you declare readiness, you position yourself differently. Heaven is moving fast because cycles do not stay open indefinitely. Think of a gate that swings wide for a moment and then begins to close. At first, the movement is slow. Then it gains speed. Those who are alert walk through with confidence. Those who hesitate find themselves on the wrong side, watching what could have been. This acceleration is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to propel you. The speed of heaven is not chaos. It is precision. Every detail is measured. Every name is known. Every transfer is intentional. But intention does not remove responsibility. You must stay awake. You must stay aligned. You must stay responsive. Right now, the atmosphere around your life is charged with movement. What once felt stagnant is beginning to shift. What once felt blocked is loosening. The speed you are sensing is confirmation that something significant is unfolding. And when heaven moves this fast, you do not treat it casually. You lean in. You listen. You align. Because what happens next depends on how you respond in moments like this. The phrase "watch in the next 60 seconds" is not a marketing line. It is a spiritual measurement. Throughout biblical history, some of the greatest shifts happened in moments that were brief but irreversible. A single act of obedience separated blessing from loss. A single response determined whether a door stayed open or shut permanently. The 60-second window represents that kind of moment. It is the space between announcement and action. It is the thin line between readiness and regret. In the spirit realm, timing is everything. There are appointed times, set times, suddenly moments. When heaven declares a window open, it does not stay open indefinitely. A window is not a wall. It is an access point. It allows movement between two realms. And when that window is active, responsiveness becomes critical. The reason Archangel Michael emphasizes urgency is because divine allocations operate within windows of agreement. What does that mean for you? It means that this is not about how fast you can physically do something. It is about how quickly your heart responds. The 60 seconds symbolize awareness. They symbolize attentiveness. They symbolize spiritual reflex. When your name is called in the spirit, do you answer? When your destiny is stirred, do you lean in? Or do you assume there will always be another chance? There were moments in Scripture when instructions had to be followed immediately. When the warning came, it required instant movement. Delay was not neutral. Delay carried consequence. The 60-second window is heaven's way of saying, this is a decisive hour. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Not when everything feels more comfortable. Now, the unseen gate is open. That gate represents opportunity, restoration, and transfer. The $100 million transfer symbolizes something massive, something weighty, something that cannot be handed to someone who is spiritually asleep. Transfers are not casual exchanges. They are strategic reallocations, and reallocations require confirmation of readiness. You may ask, how do I know if I am ready? Readiness is not about having everything perfect. It is about being aligned. It is about humility. It is about expectation. It is about refusing to treat sacred moments as ordinary. When you sense urgency without fear, that is often heaven signaling a shift. Here is the deeper revelation. Delay equals bypass when the moment is appointed. Not every delay is disobedience. Some delays are preparation. But when preparation is complete and the window opens, delay becomes costly. That is why this warning carries weight. It is not condemnation. It is invitation. It is heaven saying, you are prepared. Do not miss the release. Imagine standing at a train platform. The train arrives exactly on schedule. The doors open. The conductor calls your destination. You hesitate, thinking you have more time. You check your phone. You second guess. And then the doors close. The train departs. The destination was real. The seat was reserved. But hesitation caused separation. The 60-second window is that platform moment. There is also a spiritual test embedded in urgency. Tests do not always come in long essays. Sometimes they come in quick responses. Will you treat this as sacred? Will you respond with faith instead of analysis? Will you recognize that when Archangel Michael issues a final warning, it is because protection is active and allocation is near? This is the moment where your internal agreement matters. Faith is not passive belief. Faith is active alignment. It is saying, if heaven is moving, I move. It is choosing attentiveness over distraction. It is understanding that divine timing is not controlled by comfort. And here is something profound. The 60-second window is also mercy. It is a heads up. It is grace extended before movement occurs. It is a final nudge before a shift becomes irreversible. Many never receive warnings before bypass happens. The fact that you are hearing this means mercy is still in motion around you. But do not confuse mercy with endless extension. Windows close. Seasons shift. Transfers reassign. And once a divine cycle completes, it does not rewind. This is why the urgency must be honored. Right now, something is aligning behind the scenes. Documents in the spiritual realm are prepared. Resistance is being restrained. Protection is standing guard. But the gate remains time-sensitive. Your awareness is the key that keeps it open. In a moment, I am going to reveal what happens when the window begins to close and how to ensure you remain positioned when the transfer is executed. What comes next will clarify everything you have sensed but could not explain. You will be glad you stayed for what is about to be uncovered. Type "I receive my transfer" in the comments if this resonates with you. Lesson code 144 is now activated. As this window opens and heaven speaks about transfer, understand this: when you sow into this mission, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping light reach souls who are standing at their own 60-second window. Scripture declares, "Give, and it will be given unto you." And this is not ink on a page. It is the living voice of God inviting you into divine exchange. When you release a seed through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are pouring oil into a lamp that refuses to go out. I feel led to say this clearly. I am stepping into my moment by fueling someone else's breakthrough. Your giving becomes a river, and rivers never run dry at their source. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code is flashing on the screen. This is your appointed act of obedience. As you give, may open heavens respond, may harvest meet you quickly, and may your own transfer accelerate. Step into this prophetic flow now. There is something happening behind the veil that you cannot see with natural eyes. While you have been going about your daily routines, working, waiting, praying, enduring, your name has been circulating in conversations far beyond this physical realm. This is the hidden battle around your name, and it is far more intense than you realize. When a transfer of this magnitude is prepared, it does not move without resistance. The $100 million transfer represents restoration, authority, expansion, and influence. And influence always attracts opposition. There are forces that prefer you small, quiet, delayed, and doubting. There are pressures assigned to make you tired enough to disengage. There are distractions designed to make you question whether any of this is real. But the intensity of the resistance is proof of the value attached to your assignment. You may have noticed patterns lately. Unexpected tension. Strange discouragement that seems to come out of nowhere. Opportunities that almost materialize and then stall. Conversations that feel charged. It is not random. It is not coincidence. It is a battle over positioning. Because once you step fully into what has been prepared, you will not be easily moved again. Archangel Michael does not enter minor conflicts. He stands as a warrior when something significant is at stake. His presence in this warning is confirmation that protection has been activated around you. Where there is divine allocation, there is also divine defense. The hidden battle is not a sign that you are losing. It is evidence that something worth fighting for is near. But here is what you must understand. Not every delay means denial. There is a difference between a blocked path and a guarded one. Some delays exist because alignment is still forming. Some pauses are strategic. Sometimes heaven allows pressure to strengthen your endurance before release occurs. But when the appointed moment arrives, the guarding shifts from preparation to protection. The battle around your name is about identity as much as it is about resources. If the opposition can make you doubt who you are, it can weaken your grip on what belongs to you. If you begin to believe you are unworthy, unprepared, or unseen, you may step back voluntarily. And when you step back, the transfer seeks a willing vessel. This is why awareness is crucial. The greatest strategy against you is not destruction. It is discouragement. Think about the seasons you have survived. Moments when you thought you would break but did not. Times when you felt isolated yet found strength you did not know you had. Those were not random endurance tests. They were rehearsals for capacity. They were building spiritual muscle. Because carrying something significant requires stability. The hidden battle also involves timing. If the opposition can push you into impatience, you might act prematurely. If it can pull you into apathy, you might miss the exact moment. Timing is everything, and the battle is often about making you move too soon or too late. That is why this warning emphasizes attentiveness. It keeps you centered. There are conversations in the spirit realm about stewardship, about readiness, about endurance. Your history has been reviewed. Your faithfulness in small things has been observed. Your private obedience has been recorded. Nothing has been ignored. The battle intensifies when approval nears, and approval is closer than you think. Some of the pressure you have felt recently is not meant to break you. It is meant to reveal you. Under pressure, your true alignment becomes clear. Do you lean into fear or faith? Do you withdraw or stand firm? Every response strengthens your positioning. The hidden battle also exposes something else: your value. No one fights for something that does not matter. No one resists what is insignificant. The very fact that there is movement against you confirms there is movement for you. And what heaven has authorized cannot be permanently blocked. But you must remain steady. Emotional swings can cloud discernment. Distraction can blur clarity. When you sense unusual turbulence, do not panic. Instead, recognize it as confirmation. Something is shifting. Something is aligning. Something is approaching. Archangel Michael's involvement signals that this is not a minor adjustment. This is a strategic release. And strategic releases are guarded fiercely. The hidden battle is not about whether the transfer exists. It is about whether you will stay anchored long enough to receive it. Stand firm in your awareness. Refuse to internalize doubt that was never yours. Refuse to accept discouragement as truth. The battle around your name is temporary. The allocation attached to your name is permanent. Protection is active. Resistance is being aggressed. And positioning is being finalized. The noise may increase before the breakthrough becomes visible. That is often the pattern. But noise does not determine outcome. Alignment does. And right now, alignment is forming in your favor. When you hear the phrase $100 million transfer, your mind may immediately interpret it in purely financial terms. Numbers that large feel material, tangible, measurable. But in the spiritual realm, numbers carry symbolism far beyond currency. This transfer represents more than money. It represents magnitude. It represents fullness. It represents a level of restoration so complete that it cannot be ignored. The number itself speaks of abundance multiplied to its highest degree. 100 is often associated with fullness, completion, and harvest. 1 million represents expansion beyond limitation. When you combine them, the message becomes unmistakable. This is not a minor blessing. This is overflow. This is restoration at scale. This is compensation for seasons where you operated in lack, in obscurity, in endurance. For some, the transfer will manifest financially. Doors of provision may open in ways that feel almost sudden. Debts may dissolve. Opportunities may multiply. Streams of income may align. But for others, the transfer will take forms that are equally powerful: restored relationships, healed reputations, renewed purpose, unexpected influence, generational breakthroughs. The symbolism is not confined to one category. It is comprehensive. There were years when you felt overlooked. Years when your work went unnoticed. Years when your faithfulness did not seem rewarded. You may have watched others advance while you remained in preparation. The $100 million transfer symbolizes recompense. It symbolizes heaven saying, nothing was wasted. Every unseen sacrifice, every silent prayer, every act of obedience that no one applauded. All of it has been recorded. This transfer also carries generational impact. It is not only about you. It is about what flows through you. When abundance reaches someone who had been refined by pressure, it becomes a blessing for others. You understand stewardship because you have experienced scarcity. You understand gratitude because you have endured delay. That is why this transfer is strategic. It is not random wealth scattered without purpose. It is entrusted increase. Another dimension of this symbolism is authority. Wealth is not only currency, it is capacity. It is influence. It is the ability to shape environments. When the transfer lands, you will not just possess more, you will carry more responsibility. Doors will open that require wisdom. Conversations will shift that require discernment. Expansion demands maturity. That is why preparation came first. There is also restoration of what was stolen. There were opportunities that slipped away. There were moments that felt sabotaged. There were doors that seemed unjustly closed. The transfer represents divine justice. It represents the restoration of years that felt lost. It represents compensation beyond what was taken. Heaven does not restore minimally. It restores abundantly. You may ask, why such an extravagant symbol? Because small symbols cannot communicate large destiny. If the message spoke of minor increase, it would not match the scale of what has been prepared. The magnitude is intentional. It disrupts down. It forces your mind to expand beyond limitation. It challenges you to believe that overflow is possible. But here is the important truth. Symbolism does not remove stewardship. When the transfer manifests, how you handle it will determine longevity. Some people pray for increase but are unprepared to manage it. That is why endurance preceded expansion. Pressure built capacity. Delay developed discipline. Hidden seasons form character. The $100 million transfer is also about identity shift. You cannot carry abundance while thinking in scarcity. You cannot steward influence while clinging to insecurity. The transfer requires internal transformation as much as external change. It requires you to see yourself differently. Not arrogant, not entitled, but aligned. And understand this clearly. The amount symbolizes finality as well. It signals that the waiting season has reached completion. It declares that what hath been pending is now processed. It announces that the cycle of endurance is giving way to the cycle of manifestation. However, manifestation requires readiness. The transfer does not settle where doubt dominates. It flows where expectation lies. It rests where faith remains steady. This is why the warning was issued. Because when something this significant is released, distraction cannot be allowed to interfere. The symbolism is not exaggeration. It is revelation. It is heaven's way of communicating scale. It is an announcement that what is coming will not be small. It will not be subtle. It will not be easily hidden. This transfer is restoration multiplied, influence expanded, capacity increased, and purpose accelerated. It is compensation for unseen faithfulness. It is evidence that divine timing, though delayed, is never denied. And when it lands, it will confirm what you sensed all along, that the waiting was never punishment. It was preparation for abundance at a level you could not have handled before. There is a truth that many do not want to confront, but it must be spoken with clarity. Not everyone will receive the transfer. Not because heaven is unfair. Not because there is favoritism in the spirit realm, but because readiness determines reception. The word bypassed carries weight. It implies movement that was available but not embraced. It suggests opportunity that came near but found no agreement. In every season of divine release, there are those who step forward and those who step aside. The difference is rarely talent. It is rarely background. It is rarely resources. The difference is posture. When the window opens, posture matters more than potential. Some people will be bypassed because of distraction. They will be too absorbed in temporary noise to recognize eternal movement. Distraction is subtle. It does not announce itself as danger. It often appears as busyness, entertainment, endless scrolling, minor conflicts, or emotional entanglements. None of these seem catastrophic on their own. But when they consume attention during a decisive window, they become costly. Others will be bypassed because of complacency. They have heard messages before. They have felt stirred before. And familiarity breeds indifference. They assume this is just another moment that will pass without consequence. But complacency dulls discernment. When urgency knocks, complacency whispers, later. And later quietly becomes never. There are also those who will be bypassed because of unbelief. Not loud rejection, but quiet skepticism. They will question whether something this significant could truly involve them. They will downplay the stirring in their spirit. They will rationalize away the urgency. Unbelief does not always shout. Sometimes it shrugs. And that shrug is enough to miss alignment. Another reason people are bypassed is unresolved bitterness. When the heart is heavy with resentment, it struggles to receive increase. Bitterness narrows capacity. It binds energy to the past. And when a transfer requires forward movement, backward attachment creates resistance. Some people remain anchored to what hurt them so tightly that they cannot grasp what is being offered. There is also fear. Fear of responsibility. Fear of visibility. Fear of a change. Growth requires adjustment. Expansion demands courage. Some will sense the magnitude of what is coming and shrink back because it feels overwhelming. They will prefer the familiarity of limitation over the risk of enlargement. And in doing so, they step out of alignment. Understand this clearly. Bypass is not punishment. It is consequence. Heaven does not force transfer onto unwilling hands. Divine allocation seeks agreement. If agreement is absent, the allocation moves to where it can rest securely. This is not cruelty. It is stewardship. What is prepared must be placed where it will be honored. There are also those who mistake delay for denial and walk away too soon. They endured much, but just before the release, exhaustion convinced them to disengage. They stop praying. They stop believing. They stop expecting. And when the transfer arrives, they are no longer positioned to receive it. Timing matters. Endurance must last through completion. Some people are bypassed because they refuse correction. During preparation seasons, there were nudges to adjust attitudes, habits, or priorities. The adjustments were not punishment. They were alignment. But pride resisted. And without alignment, increase becomes dangerous. Heaven will not entrust abundance to instability. So the transfer waits, or moves. Another subtle reason for bypass is comparison. When people measure their journey against others, they distort their perception. They either feel inferior and withdraw or superior and grow careless. Both responses break focus. Alignment requires concentration on your assignment, not someone else's timeline. The most sobering reality is that many who are bypassed will not realize it immediately. They will sense something is different. Opportunities that once seemed near will feel distant. Momentum will fade. And only later will they recognize that a decisive moment passed unclaimed. That is why this warning exists. To prevent regret before it forms. But hear this with balance. Bypass is avoidable. It is not predetermined. It is not sealed. Awareness changes outcome. The fact that you are hearing this means alignment is still possible. The window remains open. The transfer has not yet moved beyond reach. The key is responsiveness. Refuse distraction. Reject complacency. Confront unbelief. Release bitterness. Face fear. Accept you again. Guard focus. These are not complicated instructions. They are posture adjustments. And posture determines placement. Heaven is not looking for perfection. It is looking for willingness. It is not seeking flawless history. It is seeking present agreement. When the moment arrives, your yes matters more than your resume. Some will be bypassed because they underestimated the seriousness of the warning. But you do not have to be among them. Awareness is your advantage. Alignment is your protection. And readiness is your guarantee that when the transfer moves, it will not pass you by. There are unmistakable signs that reveal when someone has been marked for a significant shift. The transfer we have been speaking about is not random, and it is not assigned without evidence of preparation. If you have been chosen for this $100 million transfer, symbolic of massive restoration, expansion, and divine recompense, there will be patterns in your life that confirm it. These signs are not always comfortable, but they are consistent. The first sign is unusual endurance. You have survived seasons that should have broken you. There were pressures that felt unbearable. There were moments when support disappeared. There were nights when clarity was absent. And yet, you remained. You did not always feel strong, but you did not completely surrender either. That resilience was not accidental. Endurance is often a first qualitative vagaries. Those who cannot withstand pressure cannot steward expansion. Another sign is persistent delay followed by sudden acceleration. For a long time, it may have felt like nothing was moving. Doors stayed closed. Answers were postponed. Progress was slow. But recently, you have sensed subtle momentum. Small confirmations. Unexpected conversations. Tiny cracks in what once seemed sealed. The shift from stagnation to stirring is often a signal that preparation has reached completion. You may also have experienced heightened spiritual awareness. Dreams that feel symbolic. Strong inner nudges. Moments of clarity that arrive without warning. A sensitivity to timing that was not present before. When a transfer approaches, discernment sharpens. You begin to sense that something is forming behind the scenes, even if you cannot yet see it. Another clear sign is increased opposition just before breakthrough. When something valuable is near, resistance often intensifies. You may have noticed strange distractions, emotional turbulence, or unexpected conflicts. The timing feels suspicious. The pressure feels strategic. That is because it often is. Opposition near release is not evidence of failure. It is confirmation of value. Here is also the sign of detachment. Things that once held your attention no longer satisfy you. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel limiting. Conversations that once entertained you now feel shallow. This detachment is not loss. It is transition. When you are about to step into something greater, your spirit begins to outgrow what is smaller. Another sign you were chosen is the weight of responsibility you have carried without recognition. You have been entrusted with tasks that stretch you. You have handled burdens quietly. You have managed situations others avoided. Leadership often develops in obscurity. When you are chosen for increase, responsibility precedes reward. You may also notice a deep inner knowing that refuses to disappear. Even during discouragement, there has been a quiet conviction that your story is not finished. that something larger is ahead, that the struggle is not the conclusion. This inner assurance is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the echo of destiny. Another powerful sign is refinement through correction. You have been adjusted, redirected, challenged in areas of pride, impatience, or fear. The correction did not destroy you, it shaped you. Refinement is preparation for capacity. Increase without refinement becomes unstable, but increase after refinement becomes sustainable. There is also a pattern of doors closing that protected you. At the time, it felt like rejection. It felt unfair. But later you realized those closures prevented misalignment. Being chosen does not mean everything opens. Sometimes being chosen means certain paths are sealed to preserve you for a greater one. You may also feel a growing sense of urgency without panic. It is not fear-based. It is focused. It is the awareness that timing matters. This urgency aligns with what we have spoken about regarding the 60-second window. When you are chosen, your spirit becomes attentive. Finally, there is the sign of capacity expansion. Your vision has grown. Your prayers have deepened. Your thinking has matured. You no longer ask only for survival. You ask for impact. A shift in mindset signals readiness for stewardship beyond yourself. These signs together form a pattern. Endurance. Delay followed by stirring. Heightened awareness. Increased opposition. Detachment from small things. Quiet responsibility. Inner knowing. Refinement. Protective closures. Focused urgency. Expanded vision. If these patterns resonate with your journey, they are not coincidences. Being chosen does not mean being comfortable. It means being prepared. It means being trusted. It means being positioned at the edge of transition. The transfer does not seek perfection. It seeks capacity shaped by experience. If you recognize these signs in your life, understand this. You are not imagining the shift. You are standing at the threshold of it. And everything you have endured was not random. It was preparation for reception. There comes a point in every prophetic cycle where preparation must turn into positioning. You had endured. You have recognized the signs. You have sensed the stirring. But now we arrive at the most critical phase, the moment of alignment. This is the space where destiny is not just discussed but activated. The transfer does not respond to curiosity. It responds to alignment. Alignment is not complicated, but it is intentional. It is the conscious decision to bring your thoughts, your words, and your expectations into agreement with what heaven is releasing. When Archangel Michael issues a final warning, it is not simply to inform you. It is to bring you into precise positioning. Because when the window closes, only those aligned remain within its frame. The first layer of alignment is mental. You must reject the narrative that says this is too big for you. The $100 million transfer symbolizes overflow at a scale that challenges comfort. If your mindset is anchored in limitation, you will unconsciously resist expansion. Alignment begins when you permit your thinking to stretch, not into arrogance, but into capacity. You must allow yourself to believe that restoration on a massive level is possible. The second layer is verbal. What you declare in decisive moments matters. Words are not empty sounds, they are agreements. If you constantly speak doubt, you strengthen hesitation. If you speak expectation, you reinforce readiness. This is why declarations are powerful. They align your inner conviction with outward expression. Silence in crucial moments can sometimes signal uncertainty, but clear declaration anchors you. The third layer is emotional alignment. Fear often surfaces just before increase. It whispers questions about responsibility, visibility, and change. But emotional turbulence does not disqualify you. It simply reveals that growth is near. Alignment requires you to steady your emotions, not suppress them. Acknowledge the weight, but choose courage anyway. Here is also behavioral alignment. Small actions reflect large readiness. Are you attentive? Are you disciplined? Are you guarding your focus? When a transfer is imminent, distractions multiply. Alignment means simplifying where necessary. It means protecting your time and energy. It means recognizing that this is not an ordinary hour. Another critical element is obedience. Often alignment requires a specific instruction, something simple yet significant. It may be reconnecting with purpose. It may be closing a door that has remained open too long. It may be stepping forward where you once hesitated. Obedience seals positioning. It signals agreement beyond words. Faith is the trigger that activates alignment. Not passive belief, but confident trust. Faith says, if this window is open, I step toward it. Faith does not demand full visibility before movement. It responds to credible warning. And this warning carries credibility because it is consistent with everything you have experienced. Alignment also requires humility. Increase without humility becomes unstable. When you approach this moment with gratitude rather than entitlement, you anchor the transfer in wisdom. The humility keeps you teachable. It keeps you flexible. It keeps you steady when visibility increases. Right now, you are standing at a spiritual intersection. One path continues as usual. The other steps into accelerated manifestation. The difference between the two is alignment. You do not need to force anything. You do not need to chase anything. You simply need to position yourself in agreement. And here is something crucial. Alignment is immediate. It does not require weeks of preparation. It requires decision. Decision shifts atmosphere. Decision signals readiness. Decision tells heaven, I am not asleep. I am aware. As you step into alignment, resistance may attempt one final distraction. Doubt may resurface briefly. But remember what you have already survived. Remember the endurance. Remember the signs. Remember the refinement. This is not the hour to shrink back. This is the hour to stand steady. In a moment, I will reveal the specific instruction that ensures this alignment remains secure and that the transfer lands without interference. What comes next will clarify how to guard what is about to manifest. Hold this posture of awareness because the next revelation strengthens everything you have just positioned. Type IT will not bypass me in the comments. Blessing code 911 is now activated. As you step into alignment, there is another form of obedience that multiplies impact. When you sow into this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are planting seed into fertile ground where prophetic truth reaches thousands who are standing at their own crossroads. The word declares that when you cast your bread upon the waters, it returns to you, pressed down and overflowing, and this is that living promise in motion. I am responding to heaven by fueling the fire that awakens others. Your gift becomes oil in the lamp, manna in the wilderness, light in someone's midnight hour. The PayPal link is waiting in the description, and the QR code is on the screen. This is your moment to act. As you give, may rivers of provision open over your life, and may the transfer attached to your name accelerate without delay. Step forward now and seal your alignment with action. Now we arrive at the instruction. Not a suggestion. Not a motivational idea. a divine instruction that determines whether alignment remains intact or begins to drift. Because once the moment of alignment has occurred, it must be guarded. What is about to manifest in your life cannot be sustained without intentional obedience. The first instruction is simple but powerful. Guard your focus. In seasons of imminent transfer, distractions become louder than ever. Opportunities that are not connected to your assignment may suddenly appear attractive. Conversations that drain your energy may increase. Noise may attempt to pull your attention sideways. Guarding your focus means learning to say no without guilt. It means recognizing that not every open door is your door. When heaven prepares a specific transfer, dilution becomes dangerous. The second instruction is to protect your atmosphere. Atmosphere shapes perception. If you surround yourself with negativity, doubt begins to feel normal. If you immerse yourself in fear-based voices, hesitation grows stronger. Protecting your atmosphere means choosing environments that reinforce faith and clarity. It means stepping back from influences that weaken conviction. You cannot expect to carry overflow if you constantly expose yourself to limitation. The third instruction is consistency and discipline. Small daily habits sustain large outcomes. Continue the practices that strengthen you during preparation. Do not abandon prayer because breakthrough feels near. Do not abandon gratitude because increase is approaching. Do not relax your integrity because visibility is rising. What position you must continue to anchor you. There is also an instruction regarding humility. As signs of manifestation begin to surface, resist the urge to announce prematurely. Some things must mature quietly before they are displayed publicly. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to remain silent. Guard what is forming until it is strong enough to stand. Another instruction is bold declaration. Silence in decisive season can unintentionally create distance. Declare your readiness. Speak life over your future. Refuse to verbally rehearse fear. Words carry weight in transitional moments. They either reinforce alignment or weaken it. Choose words that strengthen. There is also relational instruction. Evaluate the people closest to you. Are they aligned with where you are going, or anchored to where you have been? This does not mean discarding people carelessly. It means discerning influence. So relationships are seasonal. Some are lifelong. Understanding the difference prevents sabotage. Expansion often requires recalibration of proximity. And then there is obedience in action. If there is something you have been prompted to do, an email to send, a conversation to have, a step to take, do not delay it any longer. Sometimes the transfer is waiting on a simple act of movement. Procrastination can quietly close doors that urgency opened. Let this be clear. The instruction is not complicated. It is disciplined attentiveness. It is protecting alignment once achieved. It is refusing to let the seriousness of this moment fade into routine. If this message is confirming what you have already sensed, take a moment right now and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. When you share, you extend the warning and the opportunity. Also, if you are not yet subscribed, subscribe now so you remain connected to the prophetic guidance that guards your destiny in seasons like this. And write a bold declaration in the comments, something that reflects your commitment to follow through. Engagement is not just interaction. It is agreement. There is something powerful about public agreement. When you type your declaration, you solidify your intention. You move from passive listening into active participation. This is how alignment deepens. But understand this. Following instruction does not eliminate challenge. It fortifies you within it. You may still encounter resistance. You may still feel moments of tension. But obedience stabilizes you. It ensures that when the transfer lands, it lands securely. In a moment, I will reveal what happens when the transfer fully manifests, what it looks like, how it feels, and how it shifts everything around you. The next revelation will paint the picture of what you have been positioned for all along. What comes next will confirm why every instruction mattered. Stay anchored in this posture. Guard your focus. Protect your atmosphere. Maintain discipline. Declare boldly. Act promptly. Because when divine allocation meets disciplined obedience, manifestation becomes unstoppable. When the transfer finally lands, it will not feel small. It will not feel subtle. It will not feel like coincidence. It will feel like culmination. Like a door that has been pressing against its frame for years suddenly swinging wide open. Everything you have sensed, everything you have endured, everything you have guarded in obedience will converge into visible manifestation. The first thing that happens when the transfer lands is sudden clarity. Confusion that lingered for years dissolves quickly. Decisions that once felt complicated become obvious. You will look back and realize that what once seemed delayed was actually being aligned. The fog lifts. Direction sharpens. You no longer question whether you are in the right place. You know. The second shift is acceleration. Opportunities that once required relentless effort begin to respond differently. Conversations open without force. Doors that resisted now welcome you. Momentum builds naturally. This is not luck. It is timing fulfilled. When divine allocation activates, resistance loses its grip. There will also be restoration. Some of it will be visible and measurable. Financial relief, strategic partnerships, new platforms, expanded reach. But some restoration will be deeply personal. Peace where anxiety once ruled. Confidence where doubt once dominated. Strength where exhaustion once lingered. The transfer does not only change your external circumstances, but recalibrates your internal world. Another powerful shift is vindication. Not the kind that seeks revenge, but the kind that quietly confirms you were not wrong to endure. People who doubted may suddenly respect. Environments that overlooked may suddenly recognize. But your validation will not come from their applause. It will come from the undeniable evidence of movement. When the transfer lands, your capacity expands visibly. Responsibilities increase. Influence grows. What once felt heavy now feels manageable because your strength has matured. You realize that the preparation was not excessive. It was essential. Without it, the weight of increase would have crushed you. With it, you stand steady. There will also be a shift in perspective. Scarcity thinking fades. You no longer approach opportunities with fear of loss. You operate from abundance. You think long-term. You plan strategically. The mentality of survival gives way to stewardship, and stewardship sustains increase. Expect relationships to recalibrate. Some people will draw closer because they recognize alignment. Others may drift because your expansion no longer fits their comfort zone. Do not panic when this happens. Growth often reshapes proximity. The transfer refines not only resources but associations. Another sign the transfer has landed is impact beyond yourself. Blessing flows through you, not just to you. You find yourself able to help others in ways you could not before. Doors open not only for your advancement but for collective uplift. Influence becomes service. Expansion becomes responsibility. There may also be moments of awe. Quiet pauses where you realize that what once felt impossible is now tangible. In those moments, remember humility. Gratitude anchors longevity. Arrogance invites instability. Stay grounded. Stay aware, stay thankful, and understand this. Manifestation does not mean the absence of future challenges. It means you face them from a different level. Battles that once intimidated now feel manageable. Storms that once overwhelmed now feel navigable. The transfer does not remove growth. It elevates you within it. You may notice that timing aligns almost perfectly. Meetings happen at precise moments. Opportunities intersect seamlessly. It feels orchestrated because of divine allocation carries divine coordination. When it lands, pieces fall into place rapidly. The most profound change, however, will be internal assurance. You will no longer wonder if you were forgotten. You will no longer question whether endurance was wasted. You will see the thread that connected every delay to this arrival. And in that recognition, peace will settle deeply. But here is something crucial. When the transfer lands, continue guarding alignment. Success can tempt complacency just as much as delay can tempt doubt. Remain disciplined. Remain attentive. Remain anchored. What position you must continue to sustain you. The landing of the transfer is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter marked by expansion, influence, restoration, and visible fruit. Everything you have heard up to this point builds toward that manifestation. And as powerful as that sounds, what happens next, if the warning is ignored, carries equal weight. Because manifestation is glorious but bypass is sobering. The contrast between the two will reveal why this moment hath been so urgent. Now we must confront the other side of this message. We have spoken about alignment, manifestation, restoration, and expansion. But there is a reason this was introduced as a final warning. Because when a decisive moment is ignored, the consequences are not always loud, but they are lasting. Ignoring this warning does not result in immediate disaster. There is no dramatic collapse the next morning. No visible sign flashing that something has been lost. That is what makes it dangerous. Bypass often happens quietly. It is subtle. It feels like life continuing as usual. But beneath the surface, a window has closed. When the transfer moves and you are not aligned, it does not remain suspended indefinitely. Divine allocation seeks agreement. If agreement is absent, it relocates. This is not punishment. It is order. What is prepared must be entrusted where it can flourish. If hesitation replaces readiness, the moment passes. The first consequence of ignoring the warning is spiritual dullness. The urgency you once felt begins to fade. The clarity that once stirred your spirit becomes distant. You may try to recreate it, but it feels weaker. That is because timing carries an anointing. When the time shifts, the intensity shifts with it. Another consequence is the weight of quiet regret. Not always immediate, but gradual. You begin to sense that something could have been different. You watch others step into expansion while you remain where you were. And slowly, you realize that an opportunity once within reach is no longer accessible. There is also the consequence of extended cycles. Seasons that were meant to close remain open longer than necessary. Lessons that were completed must be revisited. Growth that could have accelerated returns to slow progression. It is not that destiny disappears. It is that timing resets. Ignoring the warning can also create internal conflict. You remember the moment you felt the stirring. You recall the clarity, but you chose distraction. You chose delay. You chose comfort. And now, that memory becomes a quiet echo. Not condemnation, but awareness of what was missed. The word forever in this message does not mean your life is ruined. It means that specific window will not reopen in the same form. Divine cycles are unique. They are precise. Once completed, they move forward. You may still experience blessing. You may still grow. But the scale, timing, and positioning of that particular transfer cannot be duplicated. Here is also the loss of momentum. When heaven accelerates and you do not move with it, stagnation feels heavier than before. Because you tasted urgency. You sensed possibility. And now, routine feels smaller. That contrast can be difficult. Some who ignore warnings attempt to rationalize afterward. They convince themselves it was not real. They minimize the importance. They say it was just emotion. But deep down, they know it was more. That internal knowing does not disappear easily. Another consequence is diminished confidence. When you miss a decisive moment, you may begin to doubt your discernment. You question whether you can trust your instincts next time. The uncertainty can slow future responses. However, hear this clearly, this message is not delivered to create fear. It is delivered to prevent regret. The warning exists because bypass is avoidable. You are not being informed after the fact. You are being alerted before the window closes. The seriousness of this moment reflects the magnitude of what is at stake. If the transfer were small, the warning would be soft. But because the transfer represents restoration at scale, the warning carries intensity. Silence often follows ignored warnings, not as punishment but as transition. Heaven moves to the next assignment, and those who did not respond remain where they were until another cycle forms. But here is the critical truth. You are still within the window. The fact that you are hearing this means the gate has not fully closed. The seriousness you feel is not condemnation. It is invitation. The consequence of ignoring is real. The permanence of certain missed windows is real. But so is the opportunity before you right now. Awareness changes outcome. Decision changes direction. Alignment changes destiny. In the final part, I will seal this message with assurance and declaration, because while the warning is serious, the promise is powerful. And if you respond now, the story does not end in bypass. It ends in breakthrough. Now we come to the seal of this message. You have heard the warning. You have felt the urgency. You understand the symbolism of the $100 million transfer. You recognize the signs, the alignment, the instruction, and even the consequence of ignoring the moment. But this final part is not about fear. It is about assurance. It is about divine covering. It is about the confidence that when you respond in obedience, heaven responds with fulfillment. Archangel Michael does not issue warnings without also standing guard over those who heed them. His presence in this message has never been about intimidation. It has been about protection. When a warrior announces movement, it is because the path is being cleared. Resistance hath been aggressed. Interference hath been restrained. What stands before you now is not chaos, but coordinated release. If you have leaned in, if you have aligned, if you have guarded your focus and chosen obedience, then hear this clearly. The transfer will not bypass you. What has your name attached to it cannot be erased by distraction you refused. It cannot be stolen by doubt you rejected. It cannot be reassigned when agreement has been established. There is a peace that settles when alignment is secured. It does not shout. It does not strive. It simply knows. You may not yet see full manifestation, but you sense that something has shifted permanently. That is the beginning of fulfillment. Before manifestation appears outwardly, assurance settles inwardly. This is the divine pattern. Warning, alignment, confirmation, release. You have walked through each stage. And now, The final assurance seals it. The waiting season has not been wasted. The hidden years have not been ignored. The battles you endured were not meaningless. They were preparation for stewardship. You are not stepping into random blessing. You are stepping into earned capacity. Not earned by perfection, but by perseverance. Not earned by status, but by steadiness. The transfer symbolizes restoration multiplied, and restoration does not arrive casually. It arrives intentionally. Lift your expectation now. Not in arrogance, but in agreement. Expect clarity to increase. Expect favor to accelerate. Expect doors to respond differently. Expect peace to deepen. Expect provision to align. Expect influence to expand. When expectation matches promise, manifestation flows more freely. And as this unfolds, remain anchored in gratitude. Gratitude protects expansion. It keeps your heart steady when visibility increases. It reminds you that everything released was entrusted, not entitled. Humility sustains what urgency initiated. There will be moments soon when you look back at this message and realize it marked a turning point. A line in the sand. A decision that changed trajectory. That realization will not be dramatic. It will be profound. You will see how awareness altered outcome. Archangel Michael's covering remains active over those who respond. Protection surrounds what is aligned. And what heaven protects, no opposition can permanently dismantle. The battle around your name has shifted. The conversation has concluded in your favor. Allocation is no longer pending. It is proceeding. This is not hype. It is culmination. It is the completion of a cycle and the inauguration of another. The old constraints lose authority. The new season asserts presence. And you step forward not as someone hoping, but as someone positioned. Seal this moment with declaration. Type "My time is now" in the comments. Blessing code 321 is now activated. Let this declaration be your agreement. Let it mark the transition. Let it signal readiness. Because heaven responds to decisive faith. As we close, receive this assurance. You were warned because you were valued. You were alerted because you were chosen. You were stirred because you were positioned. And you are protected because you responded. The transfer that carries your name is not myth. It is movement. It is restoration and scale. It is the visible evidence that divine timing, though precise, is always faithful. Stand steady. Remain aligned. Expect manifestation. What was promised is proceeding. What was delayed is advancing. What was prepared is releasing. This is your confirmation. This is your assurance. This is your moment. As this prophetic seal closes and your time is declared, understand this sacred truth. When you sow into this mission, you are extending this very warning and assurance to countless souls standing at their own decisive hour. The Lord says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease, and that living promise breathes over your giving right now. I am sealing my breakthrough by igniting someone else's. When you release your seed through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, or by scanning the QR code on the screen, you are pouring oil into a lamp that carries God's word across nations. This is not a donation. It is rapid participation. As you give, may open heavens answer you, may abundance pursue you, and may every righteous transfer attached to your name accelerate. Act now. Seal it with your seed.